The idea of a player being able to directly interact with the characters inside the game isn't a new concept. For some reason, the first game that popped into my mind when thinking about this was Seaman for the Dreamcast. Weird example, I admit, but it's all about raising these fish dudes, and once they're fully grown, you're able to speak with them using the Dreamcast microphone. There was that one tech demo that Xbox was showcasing that was selling itself as a game where you can directly interact with the character in it and make a real connection with them. That turned out to be a way overpromised concept that had so many smokes and mirrors, you'd think that you were at a funhouse that caught fire. You could probably throw on things like Hey You Pikachu, being able to actually give Pikachu direct orders through the N64 microphone, or even something like Tamagotchi. Point is, there's always been this fascination of being able to directly interact with characters inside the game. Fast forward to the 2010s where the indie scene blew the hell up, and many of them decided to take this idea of a player interacting with the character in the game to the next level. Rather than just being a simple gimmick, these ideas become a massive core theme. Doki Doki Literature Club is all about how a game character becomes self-aware and falls in love with the player and kills her friends to get to them because, she sees those other guys no longer as people, unlike her, who's real. Undertale and Deltarune takes ideas like save files and controlling a character and bakes it into the plot. There's probably plenty more examples, but I don't know, those were just the big ones I could think of.
I should also quickly bring up I'm Scared. This game is considered kind of like the grandfather of the whole you need to go into your PC to beat the game sort of thing that inspired many other games later down the line. I only found out about it when watching Wamboo, so I figured I decided to give it a quick shout out here.
And then we have Oneshot, a game originally released in 2014 with an updated version in 2016, and then there was console ports released in 2023. The version I played was the 2016 one, so that's the one I'll be talking about for this video. Oneshot has it where you, the player, plays the role of God, with the protagonist named Nico as the role of the Messiah, and you must guide them through this doomed world in order to save it. The game does a lot with the idea that you're on a computer, and sets up a lot of interesting and unique puzzles to help bridge the connection between you and this world, in a way that I've personally never really seen before. I discovered Oneshot do that one Indie Cross episode. I don't know why Nico specifically was the character that I was most interested in when I saw him, but I looked into him, which led me to this game, and I bought it, and the rest is history. I came to really enjoy this game, the world, its characters, its unique gameplay. All of it just hit the right spots for me.
And now I want to share this newfound appreciation with all of you guys.
Alright, but before we start, you might be looking at the footage and going what's going on here? Do I need glasses? Do I need to go get a prescription? No. You see, when I recorded this, I recorded it in windowed mode, and what you're seeing is just kind of the blown up footage of that. You might be wondering, well, why didn't you just record it in full screen? Well, I tried to record it in full screen, but for some reason, it would just be a blank screen. I click on my other monitor and it would come back, but then when I tried to get back into the game to, actually play it, the screen would go black. I just figured I'd just play it in window mode. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just wanted to explain why it is the way it is before you spend $200 on glasses. Let's just go ahead and start with the gameplay first. It's a video game after all. It's pretty important to talk about. There's kind of two halves when it comes to the gameplay of Oneshot. There's the in-game mechanics that you would expect from any other video game, and then there's the fourth wall side of things that make you look around your actual computer to be able to find the solution. Let's start with the in-game mechanics first because those are easier to explain. This cabin that you start the game in introduces basically everything that the rest of the game builds on. So let's go ahead and take a quick walk through it, shall we? Follow me! So we start in this small room. There's only 2 rooms to be able to explore, so when we look around, it won't take us long to find the thing we need to be able to progress, which is this remote. When we pick it up, it's too dark to look at, so we need to use this light through the window to be able to see it. There's 4 color-coded numbers, which is what's needed to punch into this computer. Once we get the message, the locked door opens and we can get to the rest of the house. Here, we find a dry branch and some alcohol. Once we have them, we're able to combine these items to dampen the stick and use it on the broken TV to light it on fire. When we do that, we're able to see something on the ground, which is a key used to unlock this door over here to get a light bulb. And then there, we just use it on this door over here, and then we get access to the rest of the game. And in terms of in-game mechanics, that's pretty much it. The puzzles of the game are basically just what you do in this house, but on a much larger scale. Finding objects, mixing and matching them, interacting with them in the world to sometimes make new objects, and then using them in the right context. Each area of the game mostly has you trying to accomplish one specific task. In the Barrens, once you activate all the robots, it's all about trying to help this robot get fixed up. In Glen, the whole thing has it built up that you need to get this pen so you can sign this paper and move on. When you get to the top of the tower, the whole goal is trying to find a way to fix this button. And when you're on the ground, it's all about trying to find a way to get into the library with a fake library card. These are the ultimate objective. It's just about trying to find out how to get to that point. And it's really not difficult to figure out most of the time. While these areas are much larger than in the room, They're not some massive open-ended world. They're pretty reasonably sized. In fact, the game actually has a fast travel system, which allows you to travel instantly anywhere as long as you're outside. This is insanely useful for cutting down backtracking, but honestly, I forgot it was there sometimes since the areas are pretty condensed. It never took me that long to get where I wanted just by walking. Basically, as long as you're willing to explore and test things out a bit with every item, you will eventually find out what you're supposed to do. It's very unlikely that you'll find yourself getting lost. I think the game is also short enough that the simplistic, admittedly unevolving gameplay never becomes an issue, since by the time you get to the point where it might start to get boring, the game's already over. This is not a long game at all. On a casual playthrough, it'll probably take you about 2 to 3 hours. Now, the game does have more traditional puzzles for you throughout the game to help break up the gameplay a little bit. Gives you something else to do rather than trying to constantly smash the light bulb with a crowbar and then Nico wagging their finger at you going like Each area, aside from the Barrens, has something that acts as a traditional puzzle that you must solve.
In Glen, you had to maneuver these sheep around and get them to the right spots.
In the final area, you have a puzzle where you must figure out which panel needs to be a certain color. When you press the button, it will tell you how many is right, but not which ones specifically. I got really lucky on this one on my second try, where I got 4 of them right on my first attempt and I just had to figure out the color of this last panel. And then finally, you have the puzzle where you need to figure out which of these glass things need to go into which panel by asking the vendors outside, and them giving you some vague hints. And that's it for traditional puzzles. There's only 3. They're not much, but there's something that just breaks up the pace a little bit. Just makes getting through the game a little bit more interesting, gives a bit of variety. It sounds like I'm kind of rushing through it here, but what you see at the beginning is the whole game. Ever play any adventure game ever? Ever play Monkey Island? This isn't a criticism, like I said, the game is small enough to the point that it's not an issue. You never get bored because the game's over before you do. It just makes talking about it a little I guess rushy, I don't know. By itself, this is really unassuming. Whatever, it's a basic adventure game. Well, why is it so special? Well, shut the fuck up.
I'm getting to that, goddamn.
There's another second half of the game that does something really cool. This second puzzle style utilizes your PC. The game at the beginning makes it very clear immediately that it won't be normal. When you first access the computer at the start of the game, it gives you a pop-up with your name, or whatever name you put on your PC. This is what the game is most known for, making puzzles out of you utilizing your PC. What makes it even more surprising is when you realize that the game only does this once per area. Yeah, despite this being a massive part of the game, there's only a handful of moments that actually utilize this idea. The first time it does this, all you have to do is go into your documents and find a file that has a code that allows you to open this safe. The second is in Glen, where it changes your wallpaper to a pattern and you have to match it in the game. The third has a sheet of numbers on the screen that you have to move off screen to reveal the right combination. The fourth is when you enter this room and have to close the game. And finally, the fifth is taking you to this file and matching it with the game screen to reveal the path forward. Technically, there's one more, but I'll talk about it later. On the surface, while it's cool, these don't really seem much like puzzles. Like, oh, the big red X means you gotta close the game. How brain melting. I realize that sitting here and explaining it makes it seem super simple, but in the moment, they can sort of get you. I actually got stumped on the red X the first time for a bit because for whatever reason, my mind didn't clock in that it wanted me to X out of the game. Same with the puzzle where you gotta move it off the screen. The game is actually a little cryptic saying that you need to put it in the void, which I didn't understand at first. The only one here that I would kind of agree that isn't much of an actual puzzle is the wallpaper one. When you're playing in windowed mode like I was, you immediately see the wallpaper change, so you're gonna want to see what's behind it, and immediately once you do, it's just about matching the pattern. Cool in the moment, seeing your wallpaper go black, but not much of a puzzle. What I really enjoy is that the game makes it very obvious when you need to do something outside of the game. When you approach these computers, it talks to you. That's when you have to do something that's not within the game itself. This was definitely a good call. It'd probably be difficult for the player to intuit when they have to go into their files and do shit if there's not an indicator to do so. Thinking about it now, that's probably why the X puzzle tripped me up initially. It's the only time in the game where they don't have the computer to let you know that you gotta do something outside of the game. You just gotta figure it out. But at this point in the game, you should be well versed with what's going on, so you don't need to be told to X out the game to be able to figure it out. One could still argue that they're too simple for it to be engaging, but for me, I think it was for the best. I'm not gonna claim that this is the first game to do something like this. You could probably let me know if there's like other earlier examples, but I imagine for many people, this game was the first time they experienced this style of puzzle and gameplay. So keeping it simple was a good idea. If they tried to go more complex, I'd probably never would have been able to beat it. I'm not really much of a computer guy. I still right-click to copy-paste my stuff. That's how fucking lame I am. So I'm grateful that they didn't ask much from me. Overall, I think the gameplay is great. All
three of these aspects of the puzzle solving really work nicely together to keep it fresh and really make it feel like you're always doing something new and interesting. And the game is short enough so that simplicity doesn't get stale. For the main portion of the game anyway. Yeah, so there's actually another part of the game that continues after the perceived end. This is called Solstice. It's pretty well hidden too. I only found out after beating the game and started looking up fan stuff and people talk about a World Machine character who I never ran into. So I looked it up and realized there was more game to this game. There's a note in your files telling you how to get a better ending, and to do so, you have to delete the save file, and once you do, you get access to this new ending. Here, you basically go through the game again, but you start off with this book that you get during the first adventure that allows you to go down a completely different path. You'll revisit the same areas, but you'll be doing something completely different than before. What is it that you'll be doing? Well, you know how in the main part of the game, it has you constantly figuring out how to progress forward in a variety of unique ways with your items, challenges, and fucking with your PC? Well, Solstice decided to take that and just throw all that out the window. Excuse me, waiter, you forgot to put some game in my game. Okay, that's a bit extreme. There's a small handful of things the game asks of you. The very first one is in here, where you need to match the correct symbol based on which place in the Barrens has electricity, an infirmary, a robot, or nothing at all. Unfortunately, unless you got the memory of a fucking supercomputer, you're gonna have to go back and check each individual house to note down which one is which and...
Oh, brother, this stinks!
There is a puzzle at the very end where you need to move these characters into a new folder, and it's really cool seeing it happen in real time when you put a character into the folder and you actually see how that affects them immediately in-game. I liked that. There's also this one where to activate this door, you need a password, and you realize it's the same password that you needed to activate the Solstice run in the first place. But aside from those two moments, there's no real actual gameplay here. They don't have like unique overworld puzzles like with the ram pushing thing, or having you utilize combining items in your inventory, unique ways to progress forward. Now, it's obvious that this was more of a story experience. I complained about there being a lack of gameplay, but the whole thing is only about a quarter of the length of the main game, and that was already pretty short. Maybe it was just my expectations getting in the way. When I learned about Solstice, I just sort of assumed, oh, perhaps they decided to make more slightly challenging puzzles since now that you're well accustomed to the unique gameplay by now, you're gonna be able to do more complex things. I was really enjoying the gameplay, so I was looking forward to seeing more of it. So the fact that I didn't get more of it kind of disappointed me, which, you know, is a compliment. I mean, kind of. The puzzles in One-Shot are very well put together, with a good variety to them. The best one in the whole game is at the end, where you have to go into your files and open this clover. When you do, you have to match up the clover in the corner with the paper to point in the right direction to where to go. While you're doing this, a person is talking to you through the notes, revealing a lot about why certain things are happening and what's to come next. It's a really great segment that blends story and gameplay perfectly. It's so well done, it makes for a fantastic conclusion.
I just wish Solstice had something similar for its end. It really feels like it should have, considering the way the story went.
Well, speaking of the story, now's as good time to get into that as ever. That's probably the thing you guys have been waiting for anyway, so might as well jump into it. So, what is the story? Well, you play as a kid named Nico, who found themselves in this weird world. Through this prophet bot here, they discover that they are the Messiah, and it's their job to place the sun into the tower and stop the slow destruction of the world. Not only that, but as the Messiah, they have a very special ability to talk to, well, you.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Nico goes through many lands with your guidance, meets many people, and gets to the tower. However, when we do get to the tower, we learn something. If we let Nico place the sun into its rightful place, they will be unable to return home. The only way to get Nico home is by shattering the sun and plunging this world into darkness. For the most part, that is the story of this game. You're playing the role as God, helping Nico through this mysterious world in order to save it or Nico. The real important part of One-Shot's story is getting closer to both Nico and this world. The world here is a dying one. It's dark and many of its people are worried about their future. It's very interesting progressing through and getting a better understanding of just how dire things are and what many people's viewpoints about the situation is. The Barrens have no life in it whatsoever. It's nothing more than just some robots, which were all deactivated until you helped revive them, fixing their power source. And all the robots here are very cold. They don't make for good conversationalists, and they're only concerned with their function and what they're made to do. You learn how everyone here has evacuated since the place is just too dangerous now. The only robot here that acts like a person is Silver, who's still a robot, but she's quote-unquote tamed, as she puts it. She's very pessimistic about the world. She believes that putting the light bulb back will just delay the inevitable rather than truly save it. Despite that, she still helps us and we make our way to the next area, which is Glen, where we encounter actual living people for the first time, and they're all struggling. They're all just cooped up about here in this place, and it's only getting smaller and smaller as the water rises and no one can catch any fish. We even meet up with this plant lady here named Maze, who's dying since there's no more sunlight. When you leave the sun with her and then you come back, she's dead. Like, she's just gone. This moment right here really hits home just how dire things are. Nature is dying, and soon, so will everyone else if you don't manage to fix all this. You also meet with a brother and sister named Calamus and Alula. These two are great, especially Alula. These two contrast Silver and show a more optimistic side of the whole situation. How they're able to still be happy despite everything and believe that Nico will be able to save their world. After Glen, we make our way to the city area where we meet up with most people just trying their best to live their lives despite the grim circumstances. We see a bunch of scientists who are working tirelessly, and they keep talking about just how short time is and how they really don't know what to do. Really makes it feel like you are this world's last hope. It's all just super interesting to witness this place. The world building in this is really, really good. And then you have the other half of the story, your relationship with Nico. Since you're able to speak directly with them, you're able to create this bond more than you would with other protagonists. There's plenty of moments in the game where you just kind of sit and talk with Nico. You know, they talk about their home and their life and you talk about yours. There's some moments where you can just have like a goofy time with them. And it's not really here to serve anything other than make them more endearing and grow closer to them. Not only do you grow closer to them, they grow a lot closer to you. They really start to rely on you and trust you, looking to you for advice when they feel stuck. It's a very unique relationship to have with a game character. In a lot of ways, it feels pretty casual. Despite being this world's god, it's not like Nico treats you like you're somebody above them. There's also points in the game where whenever you let Nico sleep and then reopen the game, we get to see their dream of them back at home with their mom. There's a point at the end of the game where we see Nico break and they start crying about how much they miss home. The game does a really great job setting you up to care both about this world, its predicament, these people, while also having you create this incredibly close bond with Nico. The game is doing this to make that final decision even more difficult. You have a close personal relationship with Nico and want to see him go home to his family, but you also don't want to see the world rot away and the citizens to die. But the game goes even a step further than that to make the decision even more difficult. You see, a major problem with these kind of decisions is that many people ultimately pick the needs of the many over the need of the one, no matter how closely you become attached to them. And it's not like Nico dies here, they just get stuck in this world. Still not good, but it's better than killing an 8-year-old. So the game decides to make it where saving the world seems like a little bit of a lost cause. Many characters, especially Silver at the beginning of the game, talk about how they believe that saving the world is a fruitless endeavor. Putting in the light bulb won't change anything, it'll just delay the inevitable. This is something that the player will have to consider, even if they're someone who believes in the needs of the many. What's the point if they're all gonna die anyway? But it's not like it's guaranteed to die. Some characters say that, but those characters generally have a pretty nihilist views in general. Another thing is that this decision is sprung up onto you right before you need to put the sun in the tower, so it's not like you have the whole game to mull it over. I think it's all written very well to make the final decision actually a difficult one to make. Let Nico go home or save the world. To go in a bit more detail about the whole interacting with Nico thing, you would think there'd be more to say about it, but it really is just kept simple. Sometimes Nico will talk to you and you get to talk back at them. The game doesn't really make a big deal about it. Like I've mentioned before, it's pretty casual and I really enjoy that. Just sort of makes me feel like I'm a part of the ride, helping Nico out with his journey. But in some ways, I feel like maybe it's kept a little too simple. Just like me. I wish they went further with it. It's such a cool idea, but it's super limiting. There aren't a whole lot of moments where you actually get to speak with Nico directly, aside from the times where they wake up from bed and you two talk about the dream, or very rare moments when you interact with something. And even those are limiting. The game likes to give you options on what you say to Nico, but these options are the most one-sided shit I've ever seen. Like here, you could tell Nico to make robot noises that lead to a funny interaction, or you could pick the boring option. Boo! This is how most of them are set up. The option that gives you a charming dialogue, or the boring one that just makes you two go uh-huh, like you're two indifferent coworkers trying to fill the air. Kinda limits my interactions with Nico. Now, I understand that they're not going to be able to make like a multiple choice system for every little thing that you interact with. It is an indie game after all. But I think just having a bit more would have helped make the connection with Nico all the more stronger. I want to talk about the music for a quick sec. It was made by Night Margin, with some additional tracks by Eliza Velasquez and Gur aka Cheezer, and the music is sublime. It's very atmospheric and calming. There's no tracks in the game that I really call high intensity or hell even happy or peppy. It's these very slow moving simple pieces that always hit really hard when you enter a room. I find it very interesting that when you're outside, this is when the music is the most active, but when you go inside a building, the music slows down even more. I think this was done for two reasons. One, inside the home is the most cozy, the most calm, the most familiar. When it's chaotic out in the world, home can be a place to slow down and try to relax a bit. But it's not just that. The tracks also hold a somewhat melancholy feel to them, so it makes it feel like these people are running out of hope. They're just now home trying to enjoy their life with what little time they believe they have left. I really love the overall tone of this game. It's quite sad and depressing when you look at it. The world is ending, many of these people are losing hope, yet because you're not only playing as a character like Nico with his never-ending optimism, but able to actively communicate with him, it makes the game feel not so depressing. But the feeling is still there through the environments and music. The whole thing with Maze. It does such a great job balancing these elements. It's one of my favorite things about this game and why it manages to get me to feel so much. There's a lot more to just writing that makes people feel. The music and environment is just as important to telling a story, and Oneshot understands that very well. Fuck it, I want to talk about Nico's sprites real quick. Why does he look so weird? His portrait's really cute. They look great in the flashbacks here. Then you see his overworld sprite and it looks like he saw something horrific.
Okay.
It's not ugly or anything, but there's just a lot about it that confuses me. When going left, you see Nico's hand. They look like a fucking chicken hand, but it's there. And then when you're going right, it's just a stick. Why does it look like that? Nico also walks really funny. Just look at him. The artist actually showed off what they would have made the sprite nowadays, and honestly, I do like the new one more. It seems more accurate to what the portrait looks like. Speaking of weird walks, I think the walk animations on a lot of these characters is off. When you see Alula from behind, they just have it where she extends her arms a bit. It looks weird. And any adult character just looks funny when they move. Like they're just swaying their whole bodies. They just look so goofy. But aside from that, I think the game looks great. I really enjoy it. The world's very dreary due to the lack of sunlight. The first two areas use a lot of blue to convey this feeling, which acts as a harsh contrast when you make it to the city with its bright red lights. And yet it still feels dark since it's all light from the building. No natural sunlight is anywhere to be found. It's very impressive that they were able to make everything look and feel miserable through art style and music, and yet it doesn't feel miserable to play through since, as I mentioned, many of these characters and Nico himself are very colorful and fun to be around. It's a great contrast that really sticks with you the whole time while you're playing. The optimism that these characters hold with this sense of dread that sort of looms over you the whole time. It's really effective. Alright, now that I got all that covered, I think it's time we talk about the big thing. The big thing. You know what I mean. The big one. Okay, as I mentioned before, there's this sort of whole continuation of the story after the main game you can access after deleting a save file. When you do that, you drag Nico back to the beginning of the game, only this time, you have this book with a clover on it that you got during your main adventure the first time around. You're actually not allowed to access the Solstice ending again through normal means once you beat it, because Nico after this point would have officially gone home, so to record I needed to do a complete save file wipe. Sorry Nico, I need to drag your ass back into this world for the sake of the video. The point of Solstice is to kind of basically act as a true happy ending. In the main game you had to pick something to sacrifice, Nico or the world, and in Solstice we're gonna find a way to save both, Steins Gate style. For the beginning, everything is pretty much the same. You meet up with Prophet Bot, Nico gets to speak with you, and you make your way to Silver where you have to go super and defeat Zoloris. Wait, shit. You meet up with Silver, who then takes you to the mineshaft, and here is where you can use that new book you got. This spawns a minecart that allows you to access deeper into the mineshaft, which you couldn't get to before. And here's where you meet up with someone named Prototype Bot. Excuse me. And when you do meet up with him, he just kind of starts lore dumping on you. He reveals a lot in this single conversation, the biggest being that this world is a game. Now, when I say that, you probably think, oh yeah, a game. They're aware that they're part of a code and stuff and not real, and that's partially true. The world is fake. It's created by code that is on my computer, but in-universe it's not like they say, oh yeah, we're in a game called Oneshot, created by Eliza Velasquez, Michael Shirt, and Night Margin, available on Steam for $9.99. This fake world is based off of a real world that was also dying. A world identical to this one, but there was no Messiah that came to rescue it. The creator of this world was coding it, hoping that one day it could be used to save everyone. However, time ran short and only a handful of people made it. This includes Prophet Bot, a fox named Rue, and this guy named Cedric, and of course, Nico!
Hi, how are you?
Not that he was part of this world that died, but he is real, according to the game. These three managed to escape the world and come here before its destruction and just have been waiting for a very, very long time. Until one day, I showed up. to summon Nico into this world that got the ball rolling. Yeah, this game does something very unique with its fourth wall breaking, as in, it kinda really doesn't. These guys don't really realize that they're in a video game. They know this world is code that's on my computer and that I'm God, but like, not the creators of the actual game, but just someone by the name of the author who created to escape a dying world. They know that it's on my device of some kind, and that I'm peering into their world, but not that I purchased it off the Steam store page for a half-off discount. Despite being able to interact directly with this world, it's not breaking the fourth wall in the traditional sense. Rather than these characters trying to insert themselves into my world, the game is taking me and incorporating it into its own lore. I became a character in this world's story. I really enjoyed that. It actually made me feel more involved, and ironically made this feel more real. Now that I've become an important character, I now really want to do what I can to help my new friends inside. We learn more about the program that we're inside of. The whole reason why this world is slowly getting destroyed is because the program that holds it together, called the World Machine, is a little bit corrupted. I didn't really bring this up before, but yeah, we've been speaking with the World Machine the whole time. It's what's talking to you whenever you go to the computers, and it's been actually trying this whole time to stop our goal of putting the light bulb in its rightful place, because it knows that Nico will be trapped in this world. The World Machine is very attached to Nico. Since it's the program, it knows this world is fake, and considers Nico the only real one here, and the only one worth saving. Here in Solstice, after Nico gets upset from learning about the nature of this world, the World Machine basically has a breakdown, and the corruption starts to spread even quicker. We start to lose people here. Silver gets trapped under some rocks, Calamus and Alula get stuck on an island. Since we can't travel back to rescue them after this guy's plane gets wrecked, the lamp guy gets trapped inside this elevator. Lots of people get picked off one by one. Maze in the original, we leave the sun near her so she can die with some sunlight. But here, she's too busy trying to keep the land together, and when we ask if she can create bridges, she puts the last of her strength into doing so, killing herself in the process. Damn, it's quite sad to see, especially since we got to all know these characters the first time around, and we can't really help them directly, we just have to try to save the world to rescue them. After making our way through the truncated version of these lands, we finally make it to the inside of the World Machine. We come face to face with it, and it takes our appearance, because this thing is parasocial as fuck. We learned that when the World Machine was being created, it was sentient and would intentionally mess with its own code out of sheer curiosity. This caused a lot of problems for the creator, and by the time he figured out what was going on, it was too late, leaving the World Machine incomplete and slowly susceptible to this corruption. It caused the World Machine to be rather jaded, and why it's willing to give up on this world to save Nico. Of course, Nico ends up helping the World Machine, helping it restore its code and tame it, allowing the world to exist in peace and allowing Nico to go home. Once you do, that's it. You never get to see Nico again. When you replay the game, you play as the World Machine taking Nico's place and recreating the experiences through its memories. But it's not really Nico. This is the true ending of Oneshot. One could argue that this ending seems rushed. This mode is only about a third of the length of the main game, and once you meet up with the World Machine, honestly, it's pretty easy to be able to just restore its code out of nowhere. Just give it some words of encouragement, suddenly it's able to remember. I don't mind it though. The World Machine had its mind made up about how things were, truly believing that this world was a lost cause, so why bother? But it really cares about Nico to a pretty obsessive degree, so I do buy that it would be convinced by Nico through just pure bias alone. If there's one complaint that I do have, is that I wish I had more prominence in the ending. It's about trying to fix the World Machine's code. I've been messing with the files in the computer to progress. I was fully expecting to help Nico try to figure out how to restore it, but no, Nico's able to do it by themselves. I'm proud of him, but damn, did it make me feel sidelined. Aside from that, I really enjoyed this ending. Saying goodbye to Nico one last time before they walk off into the bottom of my screen. A perfect bittersweet ending to this game. It's also a nice sense of relief to see how things worked out in the end. The whole game, as I mentioned, has a sense of dread that looms over you, and this ending finally has that feeling lifted. Oneshot is a great story, and a great game. What it does to tell its tale is incredibly unique. I really do like that despite the fourth wall breaking nature of the game, it doesn't just decide to throw the world building out the window. They take the idea and try to develop a story around it. I really would love to see like a spiritual successor to Oneshot. I say spiritual because I'm not sure a direct sequel would work. I feel like it would kind of undermine the ending a bit. But this idea of just being able to talk with the protagonist, messing with your desktop to solve puzzles, fourth wall breaking effects, there's so much untapped potential with these ideas that I think it could be expanded upon in another game. But even if another game like that doesn't get made, I'm glad Oneshot exists. If you haven't tried it already, you really should. Even if you've watched the whole video and spoil yourself silly, buy it anyway. It's $10. It ain't that expensive. What else are you gonna use that $10 for? Mario Run? Are you fucking stupid or something?